Hey, what's up, everybody? And this video is my top 10 best customs of the year, or repaints, or whatever you would want to call it. All these figures that you see in front of you right now are just the honorable mentions, so we'll get over those first, and then we'll actually go into the list of what I personally think are my best customs of the year. First off, starting, we'll go over, some of these honorable mentions are either figures that are unfinished, but I know wouldn't even make the top 10 list, or they're just like simple repaints. So, going off first here, of course, we have like a little, kind of Black Knight, little Shadow logo minifigure. He's a little unfinished, but he's still kind of cool, and, I was working on him this year. Don't know when I'll get to finishing him, but, he is a nice little, figure. Can't wait to finish him. He looks nice, but there's a lot of things that I maybe want to change about him, so that's why he's in honorable mentions. Plus, he's just a little Lego minifigure, so he's nothing too crazy. Because I wanted to put a lot more of the crazy stuff on my top 10. So that's that one. And then, of course, another honorable mention is, of course, the Sonic 3 Shadow. Didn't really do anything to this besides replace the yellows with the gold, and it's a nice little simple repaint, but it just makes all the difference when it comes down to it. Makes them feel a little bit more realistic. And then, of course, here we have something that's a little bit more drastic. Of course, changed feet, hands, and of course the custom head. He's cool, but there's really not a whole lot done with him. Plus, the color matching is a little bit iffy, so that's why he's an honorable mention. Ramy Venom here, again, honestly a perfect figure. I didn't really do anything extra to it besides paint in those little squiggles, that are on his arms, so that way they match with the, animation and everything. It makes it more accurate, so didn't really do much there. Carnage, he's just a repaint, and I had him on my top 11 best figures of the year list already, so I'm trying not to do things twice. Gamer Edition Ratchet, I just think out of like a lot of the Transformers that I've painted this year and customized, he was pretty good. He came out pretty nice, but not as cool as two others that you will see on this list. Gonna try and make some room here. Then, of course, you got Ultimate Spider-Man. Very cool, but again, just a simple repaint. And I might need to redo his shading because it's kind of fading off. Yeah, just a simple repaint just to make him feel more like the comics. And then, of course, you got Spider Carnage here, which, again, you will probably see some of these that I haven't even done a video on yet. This one is unfinished, but it was shaping up to be a pretty cool figure, so I still wanted to give him an honorable mention. Not 100% finished with him yet, though. Then, of course, the Wolverine figure. Again, simple repaint, but, it's still just as effective. I do quite like this figure. It's just, there's a lot of things about him that, are just undesirable. Mainly in the articulation department, but still he's on honorable mentions. And I think he was on honorable mentions in my last top, some video. And then, of course, Deadpool. Again, just a simple repaint. And Deadpool 3, simple repaint, but with the added, pouches and such. Here's one I didn't show off, which is my custom. Let me get some of these guys out of the way. Which is actually my custom Venomized Vegeta Figure Arts figure, my first custom figure arts. He's really cool, and you're probably wondering, why is he in the plastic here? It's because for some reason the paint that I used for him, which is a paint that I use a lot, actually, didn't dry on him for some reason. He's like sticky. I don't know. That's why I'm not opening him until I figure out a resolution to that problem. But it was a cool, figure to do. Really interesting figure to do. But he is an honorable mention because I did do this figure this year, and he looks cool and everything. It's just I really gotta solve that problem. But that's pretty much it for the honorable mentions. So let's get straight in with number 10. So, starting off with number 10, it's going to be my Ultimate Venom custom. Now, the reason he's number 10, and not a little bit higher, even though he's, I mean, to me, he's really good. It's just for the simple fact that, you know, he's a repaint, you know, it's kind of basic. It's just a redone version of my older one. I feel like I still could do better with this figure in some certain ways, but I probably won't revisit him just because, honestly, I think he's as perfect as he is going to be. Even though I feel like I could maybe redo the head sculpt a little bit. But it's mainly just the teeth. Because other than that, I think it's perfect. And I absolutely love this figure. I love that I have an Ultimate Venom. And I'm pretty happy with how the purple came out with this figure. It's just, you know, some just small little things that maybe I would change here and there. But other than that, he's an overall really perfect looking custom. And just because he's on number 10 doesn't mean that he's a bad custom. It just means that, you know, he's not as much as my favorite as a lot of the other ones that I've done. And then that brings us to number 9. And number 9 would have to be my Zombie Venom custom. Again, a custom I didn't do a video on yet because, honestly, there's a couple things that it's missing that I want to add to it in order to give it a full review. But the reason it's number 10 is, again, you know, it's another repaint, it's another redo of a figure I did a long time ago. I will eventually do a video on it once I get more accessories to give to him. But he is probably one of my finest works I think I've done. I added this kind of like greenness to kind of simulate, you know, rotting flesh and whatnot. And I did like do little things like blood splatter and everything, and put some, what is it? I made him like the bullet wounds and stuff like that. And I made him some of the parts like glossy to kind of, you know, simulate kind of like flesh and whatnot. I did have to, of course, like redo his like spider logo and everything, because I made this custom a long time ago and my skills are a lot better now, so I was able to actually do a proper Venom logo and everything and have it look good. But yeah, you can see like I've done like little things here and there to really give him that kind of grotesque look. You can tell with the exposed rib cage on the back there. And there's like some blood splatter on it too as well. I did a lot for this figure, and there's more right there. And I even like did like some dry brushing of like that green just to like simulate, you know, like infection and whatnot. Again, really great custom that I did. I even gave him the blown out, you know, head and everything with the eyeball coming out and some blood splatter into the teeth and some, you know, some dripping saliva from the mouth. Don't know if I mentioned it, but I did blood splatter on the teeth. Forgot if I mentioned it or not. It's very hard to, you know, tell with detail, but I will eventually do a video on him. I think he's a really greatly done custom. Can't wait to do a video on him, but he's at number 9 because I don't really have much for him. He just has those fists. I want to give him claw hands, maybe a different head, and, you know, maybe something. I don't know what yet, but something. But that is why he is on number 9. Number 8 is going to be kind of a big shocker, just because I'm actually really happy with how this custom, you know, came out and turned out. That is, of course, my Ultimate Carnage. Now, this is an amazing figure. It uses the, you know, Ultimate Spidey teenage body, and I think it came out quite well. And I used a lot of tendrils from like an older Marvel Legends Carnage and just attached it all around and just made him look absolutely crazy like he does look in the actual comics. And he came out extremely well. A lot better than I honestly thought he was going to turn out. The shading that I did, you know, try to do the cell shading and everything with him, he actually came out quite well with all that. And all these tendrils that are coming out and whatnot. I cannot paint joints, so those joints are blue, which is unfortunate, but, you know, it is what it is. Same thing with the back legs, but it's whatever. It's not too big of a deal. But, yeah, for the most part, this figure is really, really good, and it came out a whole lot better than I really thought it was going to be. I thought it was gonna not come out as well as I, had hoped, but he came out quite well, and I'm pretty happy with the process that that was into making this figure. It was also a pretty fun one to make. While it was tedious, it was still fun. I like all the different bits of cell shading and all the different design work that went into making this a reality. Making the hands was really interesting, and of course figuring out how to do the head, because Ultimate Carnage has just a singular, all one head. He doesn't have like a defined like jawline or anything like that. So doing it all like that to make it as seamless as possible honestly worked out for the best, because I didn't want just a stationary head that just wasn't able to move. So doing what I did really made it come to life, and so I was still able to actually rotate the head and whatnot. But it is a beautiful looking figure, very crazy looking, but still a very fun custom to have, and one that I'm so excited that I have. Honestly wish Marvel Legends would dive back into the Ultimate Spider-Man kind of realm and maybe give us a proper, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Carnage. It'd be really sick. But that is why he's, at number 8. Not too much going on, but still, overall, a great figure. Now, for number 7, this one's going to be another kind of shocker. But that is actually going to be my Animated Man Spider. You're probably wondering, why is he, so close to the last place on the list? Well, that's only because, even though this figure was kind of more a lot of a passion project and everything, and I personally think it came out really, really good, it kind of came with some of its issues. One of them being the fact that I feel like the head is a little too high up. The bottom set of arms can't articulate at the shoulder anymore at all, just due to the way that I had to actually get them on there and into the body. He has awful paint rub that happened when I was putting a top coat, at least on the top arms. Like, the top arms had the worst of it, because everything else I think is pretty much fine. But it's just those top arms for some reason. It's kind of unsightly. But yeah, for the most part, this figure was a very long and hard one to make, to be honest. But it came out quite well, and I really do like it. And he's fairly articulated. He has a pretty decent amount of articulation. It's just he was a very, very hard figure to make. The fun factor of making it really wasn't all there. Sculpting was super difficult. I mean, this head is completely all sculpted by me, so it was not easy to do, but I'm happy it came out as good as it did. The body was perfect to use. That's another thing. He cannot stand up for shit at all. It is impossible to get him really to stand up, unless he's crouched over a little bit like this, which is fine because that's within the character, but he's just super difficult, and I probably will not be making anything like this for a very long time. But overall, he was a pretty cool custom, and he deserves to be on the list. But that is why, he's, as still high on the list as he is. Now, as for 6, I'm kind of gonna give it maybe a 6.5 placement. You'll see why. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I know what you're all saying. Oh, you can't have this. It's my channel. It's my list. I can pretty much do what I want. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. And I'm going to put 2 figures in one spot. Only because I couldn't pick between the two to place, one higher than the other, one lower than the other. But that is, of course, Bumblebee movie Shockwave and Bumblebee movie Megatron. Both these figures have very similar, very, very similar, paint techniques. Because I do it with all my Transformers figures, just because it's, it makes the figure look good, it gives them that realistic edge, and just really pushes out those details that often get, a little hidden due to lack of paint. But both of them just look so good, and are probably my best Transformers custom paint jobs that I've ever done, with any of my Transformers, to the point where it's like I can't pick which one I want to, have more. There was another figure that I did paint, but it was a little bit before this year, so I did add it, and that, of course, was my Byway Dark of the Moon Shockwave, which I will be doing a video on sometime in the future, because I want to go back to all those old Transformers Bayverse movies and take a look at every figure from Studio Series, but I want to custom paint job them first. So, a lot of the highlights with these guys, of course, is the wash that I applied to them to really give out those, mechanical details and such. So that's the main highlight with them. This figure especially is just really good looking. This looks like it was pulled straight from the movie, at least in my eyes. And then, of course, with this figure has something different that one doesn't, because of obvious reasons, being that one only has one eye. But this one, I really had to take a look at a lot of photos and pictures and everything to really figure out how I was going to attempt to do a character like this. But he came out quite well. I mean, I really do love, of course, the amount of weathering that I did, and making him look super ultra realistic. And of course with the body and everything there. But the main thing is, of course, the eyes. I put little tiny white dots on his eyes to make him look like he has, his eyes are lighting up. And that was one thing that I've done this year to Transformers figures that was so revolutionary to me. Because, I mean, doesn't it look like his eyes are lighting up? Like, it just looks so crazy. So now I'm, like, starting to try and do that with every other Transformers figure that I have. And that's why I want to do a look back at a bunch of other Transformers, older movies and figures from those movies, and doing this review so I can repaint those figures and everything almost just like Megatron here, just to make him look so much better, because currently I'm working on 2007 Optimus Prime. But anyway, that is pretty much for this spot. So this spot is shared by 2 figures. This is the only time it's happening, but let's move on to the next spot. Now, as for number 5, it has to go to my Marvel Legends custom Spawn. Now, originally I was going to have them more higher up on the list, more towards, the top 3, spots. But then I started to think, this figure was not well, he was fun to make. That's for one. He's really cool. That's another one. But the problem is just the paint. The red stains, it's still staining right now. The paint would bleed every time I added a top coat on it. It was a pain in the ass to take care of while also making at the same time. So much so that I don't think it can really be too high up, but it's still a really amazing custom that I've made, and it's one that I've wanted to do for a long time. I had another version of it before this one, even though this is the final version. The only reason it's also higher up on this is because I didn't really give him a lot of accessories. I still plan to give him some more. He mainly just needs some guns, some gripping hands, and maybe some other effects, and maybe another head sculpt, and then he'll be perfect. But other than that, he's still a really cool, really fun, and very, very, you can pose this guy in a lot of different ways, especially with that cape. But that is why he's, up on, this spot of the list. Still a great, amazing custom that I made this year, and I'm super happy about it, but that is why he is this low on the list. As for number 4, this one was a pretty, it's a repaint of a figure I've done a long time ago, but I did some extra stuff to it. And that, of course, is my custom Marvel Legends Mark Bagley style Venom, or neo-90s Venom, if you want to call him that, from the kind of Lethal Protector / Maximum Carnage era. This figure is a beautiful looking figure. It is probably my best cell shading that I've done. Out of a lot of the different figures that I've tried to cell shade over the years, this one's probably the best one that I've done. At least I think. Because I did cross hatching with some of the blue sections to really give it that comic booky feel. It's very light in some areas, but very heavy in some areas with the cell shading, because that is, how, Mark Bagley did draw his art. Heavy in some areas, but, very light in some others. So, the chest has some light cell shading, while as towards the back, it gets a little bit heavy. Arms and legs are on the heavier side, depending on what angle you look at it. But I did give him, the longer claws that, Bagley gave Venom. And then, of course, the head. I put, obviously the green stuff putty that I've been using quite a lot over this regular Venom head, because it had, like, Todd McFarlane style eyes, but the eyes need to be more Bagley-like. So I did those, gave him the Bagley eyes and everything, and he looks absolutely perfect. This was a super fun and super simple repaint to do of an already pre-existing horrible attempt, I'll say, at a cel-shaded Venom that I did a long time ago. So revisiting this figure, updating it, and making it look so much better was just such a fun thing to do. But, that is why he is in this spot, because there's just so many other customs I think I did just so much better on. Even though this one already looks really good, there are some others above this that took a lot more work and just look, honestly, a little bit better. Now we are in the top 3. So, as for number 3, I have to give it to my animated Carnage. Now, this one is... Oh, there's a hair on him. But anyway, the reason he's in 3rd and above Bagley Venom is because, first of all, I gave him a lot of accessories. He is a full-on complete custom. Amazing paint job I did with this. At least in my opinion, I did an amazing paint job. He has an unmasked head, a slightly symbiote peeled back head. He has this head, which is the only one I really display him with. Even though the other heads are cool, I just wanted those as options. This figure is great. I was waiting so long for them to do an animated Carnage from the animated series, because it's my favorite series ever. And then when they did, and they put it in a 2-pack with Black Suit Spider-Man, I was happy, but then I saw the pictures of the actual figure. All they did was just use a Bagley Carnage head, and the paint job on the body just wasn't really doing it for me, and it was kind of a disappointment. So I really wanted to try and fix that and make that a little bit better. So then we have this figure, but I did have like another head that I did use for him, which was this head. I made this head for him as a better looking, animated Carnage head. Honestly, I got the shape right, but, it just was, there was just some, issues with it. And there we go, dropping it. There was just some issues with it. It wasn't, terrible. It just wasn't, up to par with the custom head that I got here. So, taking a closer look, of course, I already did a video on this guy, but I did pretty good cell shading as far as the torso goes. So I fixed up the torso, made the shading a lot better. I added a little bit here and there to the legs and arms and whatnot. Fixed up the back, made it a little bit more like the cartoon. And then these are custom heads that I got off of eBay that I was super meticulous about painting, and I'm just glad that I was that meticulous, because they came out super well. It's probably one of my cleanest paint jobs I think I've done ever, because it's absolutely, just super clean with the sculpt and everything that was on the 3D printed head. It is a beautiful looking figure, very simple, but you cannot beat a classic. And this was my first, introduction to Carnage as a character, so I wanted him to have the best figure possible, and I'm glad that this figure is the best animated Carnage I think we'd ever get, or that would, at least that I would ever have. So I'm quite happy with it, and it is, well, that is why it's at number 3, but the next 2 spots are even crazier. So, as for number 2, I have have to give it, and I want to put it in first place, but there's just another figure that just beats it. But number 2 is my Marvel Legends Ramy Venom. This figure was very tedious to make because I had to do like all of the little web designs and make some of the web a little bit messy. I had to dye the figure, I had to paint the figure, I had to make sure the color was accurate, I had to coat it, I had to paint the custom head, I had to do the spider symbol. There was a lot that I had to do with this figure. But this is an updated version of the figure. I have gripping hands on the way to put with him. I'm making the metal like shard thing that he stabbed Harry with. I'm trying to get an unmasked, symbiote peeled back head for him from VM Toy. You guys know who he is. But this figure was super fun to make, and I know on camera it's coming up as like this light blue shading because I did use the Marvel Legends Toby figure from No Way Home, because honestly I think that figure really works well for this particular project. But I did cover up the front parts of the feet, made it look like it did in the movie. Did all the messy webbing, which was very, very hard to do. It was very small and tedious, especially on the back here too as well. And then making it line up with the other webs that are sculpted on the figure itself already was tedious. The spider symbol was tedious to get right and accurate. I did so much to try and get it as accurate as possible. And then originally the arms were very skinny because it is the No Way Home body, so the legs are like kind of buff, but the arms were skinny. So recently I added muscles onto him, and then of course I put the texture of the figure onto those sculpted muscle pieces, that way it would fit seamlessly. Then I put the webbing, of course, on the arms to match as well. And honestly, it came out quite well, and now it makes him feel a little bit more like Venom from that movie, just being a little bit more buffier in the arms. I didn't really do anything to the chest to fix the chest, because there is no way I'm redoing that symbiote, spider symbol. There's no way I'm redoing that, so I didn't do anything to that, even though I could have. But I think the buff arms are enough to, coincide with the, the already thick legs, because I think it fits just as well as I possibly could. And then, of course, I added, more broader shoulders there, and then add more symbiote webbing and everything to make it all fit seamlessly as possible. And then, of course, you got the custom head and everything. Added a little bit of red there and everything like that to make it look pretty good. But it is by far probably one of my... Oh, also the hands are from a Killmonger figure from Black Panther, just because they fit well. But it is probably my second best custom I've done this year, because I've always wanted a really good and accurate Ramy Venom figure, and this is as best as I could do, and honestly, I am super happy with it. I don't think I could do any better. I didn't want to use any other body, just because I feel like it just would not fit. And I wanted him to still be in scale with Toby, because him and Toby in that movie were, in Spider-Man 3, were pretty much the same size. Even though I think Venom should be bigger, in that movie, Venom was pretty much the same size as Spider-Man, just a little bit buffier. But that is why he is at number 2, because number one was something I've been wanting even longer than an accurate Ramy Venom. So, here we are at number 1, and number 1 is going to go to my custom SH Figure Arts Black Suit Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3. Now, this figure, while it was easy, it really wasn't. It's kind of 2 figures in one. So, it's the CT Toys torso, just this torso piece here, and the whole rest of the body, minus the head, is from the original SH Figure Arts Toby. I dyed the parts black, painted them over. Originally, the webs, you can see on the hands, they're still like chrome. I did like silver for the webs originally, but then I decided to not do that. And then I decided to make the webs, that gunmetal gray that they should be. So this is a 100% accurate, faithful to the movie, black suit Spider-Man that is fully articulated, and still within scale of the original SH figure arts, even though I used the CT Toys torso, because CT Toys made a custom torso that is molded with the accurate logo on the front and on the back. It doesn't line up too great, but it is as good as it was going to be. And I, of course, use gunmetal gray for the web lines and stuff for the main bulk of the body, minus the hands. Yeah, I did them to the feet too. Yeah, I was just making sure. And of course, the head here, I try to match it as close to the custom head here as possible. But the head is from Aldi Art Studio, which does amazing work with custom heads. So shout out to him for the custom head here. Because I want him to be perfect, so I got the head from him, because I think honestly Aldi Art Studio is the best guy for custom heads, because these heads look so movie accurate. But a little background on this, why he's number one too. When Spider-Man 3 came out and Hasbro got the license to make the figures from Spider-Man 3, the Marvel Legends version of that Spider-Man 3 figure was abysmal. It was awful. The arms were really short, the legs were really long, the head was weird, and the articulation really sucked. It was just not good at all. So I've always wanted a really highly articulated black suit Spider-Man for a super long time. Because, I mean, we've always had a highly articulated, like, regular, classic suit, red and blue Toby figures, because Toy Biz made a bunch of these superposable ones and everything like that, which I do have. But we never really got a really good black Spider-Man, so I wanted to make one myself. It was a lot of work, but it was worth it. Because this figure is absolutely perfect, and I would not change it one bit. It is an amazing looking figure, and I'm just happy to have it. It's also better than my custom Marvel Legends Black Spider-Man, which I probably should put on this list, but yeah, that one's just okay. This one is just so out there and just so amazing. But anyway, that's for the list, so let's pretty much go to the end of the video. So, of course, here is everybody all together. My entire top 10 list of the best customs I've done all year. This was a pretty good year for customs, I'd say. A lot of them were really good and really nice, and honestly really fun to make. So with that being said, this is pretty much the end of the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow my socials, the Insta and the TikTok, and I will see you guys in the next video when I get to it. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.